It was a Tuesday. For the past 3 years, my job at the Temporal Integrity Commission had been simple: cross-reference historical records, looking for blips. It was mind-numbingly dull, a quiet desk job in a world that had been scrubbed clean of all its sharp, interesting edges. Our work, they said, was to make sure the perfected timeline stayed stable, and it was perfect. A world with no major wars, no pandemics, no famines, a real utopia. And it was all thanks to the commission. My job was to find the typos in paradise. A birth date off by a day, a name misspelled. Trivial stuff, until it wasn't. Until I found a digital ghost in the machine. It was a birth certificate for a man who, according to our perfected sanitized history, was never even born. A man named Samuel Aris, my father. To the public, the Temporal Integrity Commission doesn't exist. We're a myth, a conspiracy theory that gets whispered about on fringe internet forums. But to the global elite, we are the architects of peace, the silent guardians of their prosperity. Our official, classified mandate is to observe and record history. But the unofficial one, the one known only to the highest levels, is a whole lot more ambitious: to prune the timeline, to snip away the messy branches of history that lead to disaster, and cultivate one single, perfect path forward. Think of it like some chronological oversight bureau straight out of a sci-fi novel. This agency, our agency, holds the most powerful and dangerous technology ever built: the ability to move through time. But access isn't for fun or for historians to satisfy their curiosity. It's a tool of governance, used to surgically remove threats before they ever happen. A dictator is prevented from being born. A catastrophic market crash is quietly sidestepped. A plague is snuffed out at its source, centuries before it was supposed to start. The result is the world I grew up in, a world of serene progress and quiet contentment. There's no major conflict, no widespread poverty. Technology just advances in a smooth, predictable line, never getting derailed by the chaos of war or societal collapse. My job, as a low-level analyst, was basically to fact-check this masterpiece of social engineering. I'd compare our perfected timeline with the historical baseline, the chaotic, violent first draft of history. I was looking for temporal ripples, the tiny aftershocks of our interventions, just to make sure they didn't cause new problems. We were told we were preserving a utopia I never, ever thought to question. That birth certificate shouldn't have been possible. In our perfected timeline, my mother married someone else. My father, Samuel Aris, just didn't exist in any meaningful way. He wasn't a historical figure, not some politician or scientist. He was just a ghost, an anomaly that should have been wiped clean. My first instinct was to just delete it, flag it as a data entry error and move on. That's what a good analyst would do. It's what a sane person would do. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I saved the file to a secure, personal drive. I didn't sleep that night. The question just burned in my mind. Was this a glitch, or was it a scar? A piece of a past that refused to be erased. Using my clearance, I started digging, not in the public archives, but in the Commission's own operational logs, deep, encrypted files classified way above my pay grade. I started finding fragments, redacted mission reports with titles like Timeline Pruning Up, Sector 7G, glitchy audio logs of agents talking about paradox mitigation. I started reading about concepts that were only theoretical to me, like the grandfather paradox, where messing with the past could literally erase you from existence. It became clear the Commission didn't just observe. They were waging covert timeline wars against futures they didn't like, calling it historical revisionism. It was like peering into the engine room of God. I saw the raw, untamed chaos of the original baseline. Wars that had killed billions. Plagues that had wiped out entire continents. And then I saw the Commission's work. They didn't just stop a war, they erased the general who would have started it. They didn't just cure a disease, they went back and altered the evolutionary path of the virus itself. Each intervention was a delicate, brutal act of creation and destruction. The deeper I went, the more the beautiful lie of our world just crumbled. This utopia wasn't built, it was paid for. And the price was entire histories, entire realities that were just deemed suboptimal. The secret council of global elites who oversee the Commission hadn't just steered history for the good of all. They had steered it for themselves. I found financial records showing impossible gains. Literal, infinite wealth loops, created by agents sent back with knowledge of future markets. I saw how key competitors to today's dominant corporations were erased through tiny, subtle historical edits. Political dynasties were kept safe by making sure rivals never got a foothold. Our world wasn't a utopia for everyone. It was a meticulously crafted paradise for a select few, built on the ghosts of realities that were just inconvenient for them. So what about the paradoxes? The Commission had a chilling answer for that. They operated on a principle similar to the Novikov self-consistency principle, the idea that the timeline is resilient and that any attempt to change the past was already part of it. But for the big changes, the ones that risked total disaster, they used a much more terrifying strategy: complete erasure. They didn't just remove a person, they removed their entire family line, their impact, every single trace of their existence, and then patched the holes with a new fabricated reality. It was historical negationism on a cosmic scale. Our entire sense of identity wasn't real. It was just a story they wrote. This perfect world had no suffering, because the people who were supposed to suffer were simply written out of the story. Billions of lives, not lost, but unhappened, cancelled before they could even begin. This is that moment. The floor falls out from under you. You realize your entire reality is a fabrication. The peace you enjoy, the safety you take for granted, it's a lie. If you were in his shoes, what would you do? Would you protect this flawed paradise, or would you tear it all down for a truth that could shatter civilization? Let us know what you think in the comments below. My search turned into an obsession. It wasn't about the Commission anymore. It was about him, my father. Using that one anomalous file as a digital breadcrumb, I navigated the Commission's darkest archives, the records of erased timelines. And I found him. I found pieces of a life I was supposed to have. A grainy photo from a timeline branch labeled 7G Delta. It showed a younger version of my mother, laughing, standing next to a man with my eyes, my father. I found a record of their marriage, a deed to a house I never lived in. And then I found it, my own birth certificate from that timeline. My name was the same. I was the same person, but I wasn't. That version of me grew up with a father. He had a family that wasn't a lie. The discovery shattered my sense of self. Who was I? Was I the original, or just a temporal echo living in a revised draft of reality? The life I knew suddenly felt like a phantom limb, a memory of something I never actually had. My family, my history, my very identity. It was all a construct, a convenient fiction to patch a hole in the timeline. The utopia hadn't just created a better world, it had stolen mine. The psychological shock of realizing your very existence is a side effect of a temporal edit is something no one can prepare you for. Over weeks of careful, terrified work, I put it all together. The mission logs, the financial records, the evidence of erased timelines, the proof of my own stolen past. I have it all on a single encrypted data key. One leak to the global networks, and the truth is out. The lie is broken. But what would that truth unleash? The history I'd been studying for years gave me the answer. It wouldn't be some quiet awakening. It would be pandemonium. Trust in government, in reality itself, would completely evaporate. Nations, finding out their histories were manipulated, might try to correct the timeline for themselves, sparking the very temporal wars the Commission was created to prevent. Democracies would shatter as people demand do-overs for every election, every policy decision. Our quiet, stable world would collapse into a war, not over land or resources, but over the very nature of what's real. So here I stand, with the key in my hand, weighing two impossible choices. Do I protect the lie? Do I let this utopia continue, this beautiful, peaceful garden grown on a graveyard of forgotten realities? Do I protect the world that erased my family but saved billions from suffering? Or do I burn it all down for the truth? Do I honor the memory of the father I never knew and the countless others who were erased, even if it means plunging the world into a chaos it might never recover from? Is a devastating truth better than a comfortable lie? The very laws of physics might have something to say about all this. Some have proposed a chronology protection conjecture, an idea Stephen Hawking famously explored, which suggests that physics itself works to prevent paradoxes and make time travel on this scale impossible. Maybe leaking this is impossible. Maybe the timeline will, as it always has, just find a way to protect itself. Or maybe, for the very first time, humanity will be forced to look at the true price of its perfect world. The choice is now in the hands of a low-level analyst, a ghost from an erased timeline, who has to decide whether to be the savior of a beautiful lie or the bringer of a terrible truth. What would you do?